Tales from the Darkside Season 1, Episode 7, Inside the Closet. It was directed by Tom Savini, who's most known for doing special effects. He does some acting as well, but special effects for things like Dawn of the Dead, The Prowler, Maniac, a lot of 80s horror movies. Made very bloody effects and loves shooting things with shotguns.
And, rubbers filled with blood. And I knew I could blow it off because I had done it in Dawn of the Dead. I'm just going to do the same thing, take a double-barrel shotgun to it. However, this was through the windshield of a car. And I never fired through the windshield of a car before, so I had goggles on to protect me. And when I actually fired the gun, it threw me off the car. And we had to leave there within 60 seconds because you're not allowed to fire a gun in New York.
He's just firing real guns off in New York City. He explains later in this interview, this is the making of the horror movie Maniac. After they basically blew up this car by shooting a real shotgun into a prosthetic head, they just end up dumping the car into the ocean. He's like, the car's still there. Maybe someday we'll find it. It's just a prosthetic, a bunch of fake blood, and a trashed car in the bottom of the ocean. Okay, all right, sure. Those 80s, folks. Michael McDowell wrote the episode, and so far with Tales from the Darkside and Monster, Michael McDowell has been my favorite writer. Michael McDowell wrote 11 Tales from the Darkside episodes and almost single-handedly saves this series. He was also best friends with Stephen King and helped co-write Nightmare Before Christmas and the movie Thinner. His episodes of Tales from the Darkside almost always feature a monster, and they're just a lot better, a lot smarter than most other episodes, or certainly most other B episodes. He actually thinks through and answers all the questions. Why is the monster there? What is its motivations? Usually gives some history of the place. After 6 pretty average episodes, I like the last one, Slippage, but so far Tales from Darkside's been a little lacking. We finally get an actual real horror episode that is scary, frightening, well shot, and really feels like an 80s slasher movie. This series is all over the place. You could say it's really, really diverse, and it is, but really, I think this is when Tales from the Darkside is at its best. It starts with a very creepy opening. Man lives in a sunlit world.
Man lives in the sunlit world.
Like with that guy's crazy voice. And so you expect kind of a horror, or at least a creepy episode. And a lot of times you don't get that, especially in something like Mookie and Pookie. But finally we get it. Inside the Closet starts with Gail Ainsley renting a room from her college professor. He's giving her this room in his house for a good price, but he does have some stipulations. No TVs, no noise, no boyfriends, just to be quiet as a mouse. And he brings her up to this room that she's renting from him, and he explains that this was the room that his daughter used to live in. And we see right away, they get right to the point, that there's this little creepy closet that looks like it's big enough for a little child to fit through, but not big enough for an actual grown adult, like 3 feet tall. Already, this is setting the scene for what we know is going to happen. A monster is going to come out of that closet. Literally. But it's very effective the way they make it so small. And she's very intrigued by this closet and tries to open it, but it's locked. As soon as she gets into the room, Gail starts to hear something coming from the closet. She thinks it's a rat that's scurrying around. And this especially happens when she goes to sleep at night. She hears these rats, quote unquote, run underneath her bed and start making noise where this little closet is. She asks the landlord, her professor, about it, and he plays dumb. Oh, there's no rats. There's nothing to worry about that closet. I definitely didn't put you in that room to, have something bad happen to you. Don't worry about it. So he leaves, and she sets in kind of a funny scene, a rat trap in the closet. So the closet was initially locked, and there was no key to it, but mysteriously the closet just kind of opens. She also changes clothes like 1,000 times in this episode. Like I said, Tom Savini's giving the audience what they want. She's in a bathrobe, she's in a lingerie, and the only thing she really has to entertain herself is this little projector that she's using to study for school. She doesn't need any fancy iPhones or, crazy things like YouTube or TikTok. No, she's got a nice little slide projector to study. The set design is really good too. Her bed is facing the kind of small hobbit closet door. So every time she wakes up, she's looking right straight into that quote-unquote closet. That's what they keep calling it. But it seems like it's really actually a cage for this monster. We get a scene where the monster escapes, but he just kind of scurries around and then goes under her bed. We haven't really seen what it looks like, but they will show it at the end of the episode. She tells the professor that the closet door actually does sometimes open. It seems like it opens and closes whenever it wants to. and the key that she has sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. She put a rat trap in there and tells the professor that the rat trap is gone from the closet. She tries to open it and it doesn't work. He seems intrigued by this, a little befuddled by it, but also doesn't really seem all that surprised. Seems like the professor has maybe been hiding something in this closet. I gotta think of a better name to call it besides a closet. It's like a little hobbit cellar. We get outfit change number 98, and then she goes exploring again. Gail comes home from school and finds that the closet is, of course, open again, but instead of being empty the way it was every other time, this time it's actually filled with dolls and clothes. Her professor that rented her the room mentioned this was his daughter's old room, so it looks like these are the knickknacks that were left over. And we get the first sight of blood in Tales from the Darkside. She sticks her hand in the closet, and it ends up getting caught in the rat trap that she put in the closet. So that's the first sight of blood in Tales from the Darkside. A rat trap. Okay, sure, no problem. We get the reveal of the monster. We've seen it a little bit throughout this episode, mostly just kind of close-ups of its eyes and its claws kind of reaching out from underneath the bed in the closet. But now we get the reveal of the entire thing, and it looks really great. Better than most movies. This is Tom Savini at its best, and it moves really effectively as well. We get to see it for a couple minutes in basically every type of shot. It moves its mouth, eyes, walks, sort of. This episode was released in 1984, so you're not going to get any CGI. Well, I guess it was Tron, but this isn't Tron. And really does show that practical effects, I think, look better than most CGI, if done well by the man Tom Savini. It's not exactly clear what this monster is supposed to be. At the end, it's revealed that the professor is actually in on this the entire time, and set Gail up to be killed by this monster and dragged into the closet, and treats it kind of like it's his kid. So I guess this is his daughter. Maybe he had a real daughter and she turned into a monster. Maybe this was his daughter the entire time. But yeah, it's a really creepy ending and I think really good. He literally starts playing kissy face with this monster. And it really looks like nothing else. I'm not exactly sure what to even compare this to. So Inside the Closet gets an easy 9 out of 10. This is the best episode so far, and I think one of the best of the entire series. If only they stuck with this. Tales from the Darkside, just keep doing horror, please. No more comedy episodes. This is the first episode Tom Savini worked with Michael McDowell on, the second one being Halloween Candy, and both are really good episodes. They should have trapped Michael McDowell and Tom Savini in the closet, gave them tons of money, gave them tons of resources, and just had to make all the episodes. But unfortunately, they only worked as a team in 2 episodes. The main character, Gail, was played by Rebecca Weiss. She was in the David Cronenberg movie The Dead Zone, an episode of The Hitchhiker, and 161 episodes of the soap opera Santa Barbara. Alright, I'm going to stop Googling images of her, getting naughty thoughts. So that concludes this episode. Next up is episode 8, Word Processor of the Gods. An episode based on a short story by Stephen King. See you next week.